Hi, this is Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow. I want to welcome you to another edition of Cooking with Janet. I appreciate all of those of you who have written in telling me that you've been missing my cooking. I'm just like you, sometimes I get in the mood where I just don't feel like cooking for a while, so I've taken a little bit of a breather and I'm kind of starting to get back in the swing of things. So I want to show you a few of the things that I thought might be of interest to you, kind of catch up on a couple of things that we left hanging in one or two of our other episodes, and just give you things to think about and something fun to do. Hopefully you'll enjoy your cooking. As I've talked to you about before, the more that you have going into you that's in a good mood, you're going to open up those channels of those particular frequencies, so when you're cooking and doing your thing, that's going to come through in your food. It's going to nourish your body, your minds, your souls, and those who you feed. So with that said, I want to direct your attention over here to my stove. I kind of started a few things without you because I wanted to get everything kind of rolling. I don't know if you've seen this before. If you have one, perhaps this is a steamer. And I used to use my steamer a lot when I did stuffed rolls, like in Japanese cooking and things like that. It's kind of a fun thing to do. If you like bread that is browned, you will not like the steamer because it comes out really moist and very soft, and I particularly like that. I'm not a person who likes my stuff really crunchy, so you may not like this particular mode of cooking things, but if you like kind of the soft, spongy things, this you'll like. I started out with a small steamer like this, and quickly outgrew it, of course, but it's has a couple of different layers in it, and I don't even know these days how expensive these are, although I don't think they're a lot. I think you can get them at places like, you know, your Walmart or Kmart's and those kind of stores. So, but this is what I started out with when I was first learning how to do steaming. And what I found out is, well, a couple of things. I just want to share my tips with you. One thing is when you're steaming. Now, this also has two trays and a lid. You can put together multiple trays and you can steam a lot of things. You can steam your fish, you can steam your veggies, you can steam whatever you want in here all at the same time. So it's actually a very efficient way of cooking. And however, if you only want to use one tray, now this is a tip you'll want to remember, is the water causes the wood to expand, and then of course as it dries to contract. So you always want to keep it together, because this way as it expands and contracts, the whole thing will continue to fit on the lids. See, it has a little lip here, and that's how they stack together. If you take them apart and they cool apart, then they may not fit back together again. So that's something to keep in mind. Now you can see that I have mine sitting on top of just a regular pan. I'm going to raise this up, and I use hot mats because you want to remember steam will burn you. So I just put in about an inch or so of water. I get that to a boil, and I put my steamer on top of it. You can use any pan that you want, any ordinary pan. And when I made sweet potato biscuits for you, I had a little issue with that burning on the bottom, and like I said, I don't like that. So I decided to put them in my steamer, and at that time I told you I was going to try it in the steamer to see how that worked. And I did some last night. I have some leftover batter, which I put in here this morning so that you could see it. I've given you the recipe before, so you can look that up. It's not a difficult one. It's very easy. So what I did is I put this on, I cut a little piece of parchment paper and put it on. You can also use wax paper. And so these are in here steaming, and they're rising up. They have some baking powder in them. So they're rising as they're cooking. And we'll see how they are a little chilled when I put them in. So we'll see how they do. They might take a little bit longer, but they're doing nicely. You can actually steam right on. I'm going to show you the interior. You can actually steam right on these pieces of wood. The issue is it's a little harder to clean. And as you can see, you know, before I would use this, I would dunk it into my hydrogen peroxide water or spray it with a little white vinegar or something to clean it out a little bit. But that's, of course, what allows your steam to come through, so you don't want to cover the whole thing up. So I have just a little piece of parchment paper or wax paper in the middle to hold your food. And it's an efficient way to cook. It's kind of fun, like I said, for something different. So I'm going to put this one back. I don't use this one very much anymore because it's small for my family. But anyway, it's an interesting way to do things. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is if you don't have a steamer, because I like to try and make things easy for you, this is a pasta pot actually. And if you take this off and I set this in, then you have a steamer basket. So you could also put a little bit of water underneath and put a little parchment paper in here and set whatever it is you want to steam on your parchment paper here. And I've done a variety of things. I've done tamales. The only thing is now tamales use corn husk, and because I'm working on staying away from mold, my boys were telling me maybe we could use cabbage leaves for some of the things I used to steam in the corn husk. So that's on my list of things to try. I haven't gotten there yet, but I will. Before I had this, what I did was take a pan similar to this. I took an upside down aluminum pie tin and cut holes in the bottom so the steam would come through, and I put things on there. So like I said, you can be inventive. If you don't have this, say, oh, I can't do it because I don't have it. Think about what you do have and what you could modify to create something so that you can cook this way too. Now, one of the recipes that I used to do in the steamer basket, or before that in my modified steamer, just with a little bit of water in the bottom and a upside down pie tin, aluminum pie tin with holes in it, was a steamed bread that I liked really well, and I would put it in a tin can. And it makes a round bread, like those of you who know what Boston brown bread is. So I've modified that recipe, and I have not cooked it yet. So I'm going to try that in my steamer and see what happens with that. So I'm going to show you that recipe. And we'll start with that and we'll see what happens. The recipe itself should be good, but I haven't tried it steaming. I don't even know what the batter is going to be like. So within here I have 3/4 of a cup of buckwheat flour, which I made in my little spice grinder, and I've shown you how to do that before. There's your buckwheat organic. Remember, it has all 8 essential amino acids in it. And then I have 3/4 of my organic field corn that's been ground into cornmeal in the same way. So I have a total in here of 1.5 cups of flour. You can use any combination that you want. Just going to stir that up. This also has in it a teaspoon and 1/4 of aluminum-free baking soda. So I'm going to be sure I get Bob's Red Mill. Mix that in. And a pinch of salt. Depends on the quality of salt, how much you need. Because if it's a really good quality, it doesn't take much, otherwise your food will taste salty. But you will get some good minerals in there. And I have my unsweetened coconut milk. I'm going to put in about 1.25 cups of this. Now, you can also use buttermilk or any other kind of liquid that you like. 1.25 cups of my coconut milk. This unsweetened, I find, doesn't really give it any flavor, but it does kind of make it light and fluffy, which I like. And then I have some organic molasses. Now, organic molasses is very high in iron, and it is also high in a lot of your minerals, but it's also high in carbs. It has about 14 carbs per tablespoon. So I have cut this down in this particular recipe to about 2 tablespoons. It's going to give it a really nice, rich flavor. If you want, I'm going to add a little bit more because it's stuck. But you can add whatever you like. You can also add raisins or currants to this particular recipe to make it more like a Boston brown bread if you like. And again, it's just something I've modified. We're going to see what happens in the steamer without a tin can. It may have to soak for a while. And I can't really tell you the carb count. I know how per piece. I know how much is in here. So this may be not good for my steamer. It might be too loose. And if that's the case, what I thought I might do is put it in a container and see what happens. So I'm going to get a couple of cupcake wrappers and see what will happen. I'm going to take off the top part of the steamer. See if we can do anything with it or not. Now, usually, as I said, I put this in a tin can before, so I couldn't remember. It's been so long. I couldn't remember how runny the batter was. And if you decide to use a tin can, which I'm trying to avoid more of the heavy metals if I can, let's see what will happen if that'll hold it. Yep. So if you use the tin can, what I do is I just put some olive oil and run it around the edges to keep it from sticking. And then after it's done, you simply take a can opener and cut out the bottom section of the can and push it through, and you have a nice round baked Boston type of bread, which is nice. So let's see what happens with this. Oops, this one's going to run out. That's alright. As long as it doesn't run all over the place, we're in good shape. And it may, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what life will bring. And if it drips over the bottom, it's not the worst thing in the world. The other thing I thought about doing is creating some kind of a form in there. But I was curious to see what happened, or I may decide at some point to add more flour to it. So we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So that's an interesting little experiment that you can help me with. Now the next thing I'm going to do is make some Butterballs. This is a little cookie. I have goat butter on order. It didn't arrive, so we're going with our organic cow butter. I have a half cup of cow butter in here, and I have 1 cup of my buckwheat flour, which I've already ground it. So that's going to go in. Now this is a little stiffer dough, and it takes a tablespoon and a half of powdered sugar, which I have used my coconut crystals and my little spice grinder here to create that. So that's going to go in. So it's very low sugar based, although the carbs are still there. And the final ingredient, oh well, I'm going to add, you can put vanilla. I'm going to put about, maybe half a tablespoon or a little bit more of pure maple syrup in there to give it a little bit of flavor and to boost the coconut crystals. It's not a real strong flavor. And then I have ground up some pecans, which I'm sure you may or may not know what those are, depending on where you are in the world. But you can put any kind of nuts, a half a cup of those in there as well. And it's a little actually a tea cookie. It's not very sweet, or like a shortbread will say. It's not a sweet cookie. Okay. Now, if you have a mixer, which I do have, but a lot of times by the time you get it out, you have to clean it up. Sometimes I just prefer to do things by hand. You can also do that. It goes a little faster, but it's up to you. Okay, then all you do once you have all your ingredients mixed is you make little balls out of them. And you bake them about 350 degrees, which we will put it in, and then we'll check on our steamed bread and see what's happening there. And your total carbs in this particular recipe is around 120 at this point. Now I am going to roll it in a little bit of powdered sugar from the coconut crystals, so it's going to add a little bit, but not a lot. And as I said, it's a tea-type cookie, kind of a shortbread, so there's not a lot of sugar in it, but you do have some carbs. So a couple more, and then we'll bake them and see how those turn out. The other thing that you can do is, again, you can experiment with things like this. You can add in some cocoa powder, or you could roll it in cocoa powder with a little bit of your coconut syrup or coconut powdered sugar. You can add in a little sun butter into it to give it a little different flavor. You can add in a little bit of jam. So lots of different things that you could do. So at 350 degrees, it's going to go in for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to check it. See what's happening with my steamed bread. Let's find out if we've got anything happening that's... Ah, there we go. It's working, all right. Let's see. This may not take some. Remember that you can... Yep. I almost think that's about done. Let me test it with a toothpick. Because it turned out very thin, obviously. So they're not going to take too long. Yes. Those are done. Alright, so I'm going to take those out. Actually, I'm going to remove it all the way off so I don't get burned when I take it off. Let's take this over here. Pull out a plate. Okay, they smell delicious too. And it's nice with a little bit of butter on that. It's going to be amazing treats. I'm so happy those turned out because I have missed the steamed bread. And check my water. You can burn your pan if you let your water go away. That's it. All right. So then let's put this back on top for now, and let's open this up and see how the sweet potato biscuits are doing. Okay, those are doing really nice. Now these, as I said, they were cold. You can put your toothpick in. If it comes out clean, it's done. But I'm going to let it go just a little bit more. These don't have eggs in them, raw eggs, but see, it's still clinging a little bit, so maybe about another 5 minutes on those, and they'll be done. Okay, and then we'll check the cookies in a few minutes, and we'll be ready to roll. Okay, I put a few more in on the little cupcake things. They did turn out flat. They were very delicious, so I hope you'll try something like that at home. Anyway, you may have a better idea for a container, but for now, until I figure it out, that's what it will be. These are the sweet potato ones that I told you about. These turned out really nice. You can see they're not browned on the bottom. So I'm going to take these out. And you can see, if you watched my podcast on the sweet potato biscuits in the oven, that these ones are nice, light and fluffy, and they have no burn on the bottom because sweet potatoes are high in sugar. You want to remember that too, along with everything else, but they're really nice and fluffy. So I'm going to take my butter here. I'm just going to show you how nice they are when they open up. I like to butter things right away while it's hot. So you can see they're nice and done. You put a little bit of butter on that and you close that right up. And it's really wonderful. So I have testers waiting here in my kitchen. And they always, of course, are very truthful, because everything we eat here is so delicious. Okay, so that's nice steamed bread. I have some other steamed bread ideas, but I'm looking for specific ingredients, and when I find those, I hope you'll be pleasantly pleased with what I come up with. So these are the sweet potato biscuits that are steamed. So I want you to just understand what a steamer is and how you can use that to your benefit. And as I said, you can do other things, which I plan on experimenting with. I'll probably do some things wrapped in cabbage leaves and put in here as well. You can do your whole dinners in there. Something else the boys had recommended. I had even thought of lettuce leaves, depending upon what's going on. So a lot of things you can do with a steamer, and you can make it easy for yourself, and you can make it fun. Sometimes it's just different to break up the monotony, which is one of the reasons I like to use a steamer. Plus, I do like the moistness that it imparts in the bread. So I'm going to give this to my testers, and I'm going to let my butterballs finish baking, and then we'll be back and finish those up. Okay, I put these in for another 5 minutes. I checked them in at 15 minutes, and they weren't quite done. So let's pull these out now. This is 20 minutes, which I think this is much better. And we're going to check the bottoms to make sure that they're browned. You can see how nice. They did rise a little. They're not going to rise a lot. Like I told you, they're kind of a tea biscuit. I'm just going to gently flip one over. Yep, the bottom is perfect. So I'm going to put it here on a little piece of wax paper. It's kind of crumbled a little bit. They will be crumbly because remember, they're butter cookies. And butter cookies are generally crumbly. Now, after we get these off of the sheet, I'm going to remind you how to make your own powdered sugar, in case you've forgotten, and I do it in my spice mill. And then, if you roll these while they're hot, the powdered sugar will stick a little bit better. Or you can frost them if frosting is your thing. You can take a little bit of cream cheese. I would use a goat cream cheese. I would put a little bit of the coconut sugar in that, maybe a little bit of maple syrup. You could frost it like that too, which would be delicious. I put a little nut on top. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with your imagination, and so that's why I tell you about your cooking. It helps to open up your creative side. Your food represents what's going into your mind. Always remember that. If you can be creative with your food, it's going to help to open up your creative mind patterns in all your life, whether it's prosperity, relationships, it doesn't matter. Creative energy is creative energy, and once you get it flowing, there's no end to what you can do, what you can produce, what you can bring to yourself, and how you can find where your blocks are, because it takes creativeness to look at your blocks, and then it takes creativeness to take your blocks apart. So we're talking about that right now in the membership side of this section, that just because you have issues doesn't mean you have problems. It means you have issues. Real people have issues. I have issues. That's why I do what I do. So it doesn't mean you're less than. It just simply means you have issues. So take your time, use your creative energy, and work through them. So with that said, let me show you how to do the powdered sugar. Now remember, I'm using the coconut crystals. This only has, let me be sure, 7 carbs per tablespoon, so it's pretty low on the glycemic index. Not all coconut sugar is that low, so you want to be sure and check your brand. This is Coconut Secret, in case you want to know. I put a little bit into my spice mill, okay, and I'm just going to turn it on, and that'll help to dry it out and turn it into powdered sugar. Okay, see, it doesn't take a lot. Put it in my bowl here. Now, the trick will be, see if I can do these while they're still hot or not. So let's find out. Oh, yeah, they're starting to set, so that's nice. Okay, we're just going to roll it in like this. And there you have your cookie. And again, you can put a little cinnamon in it. I mean, use your imagination. Have fun with it. If things break apart, if they don't turn out a certain way, don't judge and criticize yourself about it. That's okay. That's life. I tell people, if you want perfection, you know, go to the store where they spit things out and they're filled with chemicals, and you know, and let that be your life. But for me, and you've seen that happen on this show, sometimes things turn out better than others. Sometimes I'm still experimenting. You know, I don't stick with one thing too long because I have a lot of creative energy and I enjoy utilizing it. I'll enjoy making it work for myself. And like I said, sometimes things turn out the way I want them to, the way I think they should, and sometimes they turn out the way they're supposed to turn out. So I don't judge it. I don't judge myself. You know, it is what it is. Allow it to be. Okay. These are a nice little treat. And as I mentioned to you, the whole batch has about 120 carbs in it. How many cookies did I make? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And let's guesstimate how many we have left. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say I have 9 left. That's 18. Let's go 20 cookies, roughly. So you want to take 150 carbs. Divide that by 20, which we're a little bit under that, and you're not going to have too many carbs per cookie. So you can have a couple of them. You can enjoy them with a cup of tea. You can serve them to friends. You can put these in your freezer even, if you're one person, and take out a couple at a time. So it's a nice cookie. Let me cut that open for you so you can see what it looks like inside. So you'll see. Okay, there you go. It's nice and crumbly and flaky. And again, you can, if you want them more crispy, you can cook them a little bit longer. If you want them less done, you'll find out what works for you. Have fun with whatever you're doing. I do my best to have fun, and that's why I took a little bit of a break, because I needed a break. And if you need a break, take a break. You know, do what you need to do for you. I want to remind all of you that are planning on going on the Russia trip with us that it does require a 30-day approximately length of time to get your Russian visa. So as soon as you make up your mind, you must get in, you must get registered so that we can start getting you the details and we can pull everything together. Also, in August, if you don't have plans yet, you simply must come to St. Joseph. We have the best week planned for you. Fire, air, earth, water. It's going to be about elements. It's going to be about you. It's going to be about accessing all kinds of parts within your mind, within your DNA, within your programming. And you're going to come back refreshed and amazed and feeling like, wow, I am so glad that I went on this rejuvenation week, because it's going to make a big difference in who you are and how you feel about yourself. In addition, go look up St. Joseph, Michigan on the internet because it is an amazing vacation place. If you have friends or family that want to come here but don't necessarily want to attend the immersion week with you, trust me, they will have so many things to do, and you can relax in the evening. We have amazing, fantastic sunsets. We have some of the top beaches in the whole U.S., and we love having you here. We love visiting with you in person. And also remember, if you can't physically make it here, the webinars, let me tell you, those are the next best thing. We are having so much fun with those. They're amazing. And in June, we are going to be starting the language of hyperspace, specifically talking about color. So check out the website. Thank you for joining me on my cooking podcast. I have so much fun sharing with you, and I love it when you share back. So join the membership side, come to Immersion Week in August, join me in Russia, the webinars. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what your budgets are, no matter what your intentions are, expansions.com, we have it for you. Thank you, and bye-bye.